Hello lovely people, how are you all doing today? I hope you are well. I'm doing better. I think whatever was in me has mostly gone and it's just left me with sort of that lingering headache but utter exhaustion. So what could be better than preparing myself some really lovely food to make me feel yum inside again. Today I'm going to do a bake with you, not a cake bake. I'm going to do a Greek chickpea and horta bake. Don't worry about the horta, I'm about to explain it in a second. It's greens. This is such a lovely recipe, and I was saying the other day I haven't made it for years, partly because there was stuff I'd want to use for it that I didn't grow on the allotment, and I was trying to just live on my allotment food, partly because it's an oven thing, and but I resurrected it a week and a bit ago, a couple of weeks ago, when the chaps were visiting, and it's so lovely. It's like, oh yeah, that's an absolute delish one for the winter. So I'm going to go through the ingredients in a minute, but I'm going to talk about horta first. And one of the reasons I love Greek food so much, Mediterranean food in general. Sorry, I can feel an overwhelming urge to cough at the moment. I thought this was all gone. Never mind, we'll carry on. Yes, I love Greek food, love Mediterranean food. In general, what I love is peasant food. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way at all. I champion peasant food. Quite simply, this is food, and there are so many beautiful traditional recipes to try from all over the world, but it's food that is, how to explain it, it's what you can make to eat with what you grow in your garden, what you forage in the woods, on the mountainside, etc, etc. So it's really simple, beautiful, nutritious ingredients, cooked and put together in usually pretty simple way as well. Getting that food, getting that nutrition into us without spending too much money. So actually, if you look at any peasant food, I've got a fantastic one. Someone was mentioning the other day about my cookbooks. I showed this briefly when I bought it. This is a wonderful book, Elizabeth Luard, European Peasant Cookery. You can see there's no markers in it. I've not really had a chance to properly look through it. I think I must have bought it just before I moved. But yeah, these are great recipes for anyone who is striving for self-sufficiency, or even just, bringing your food bills down a little bit by growing some of your own. Brilliant. And this recipe I learned halfway up a mountain on a Greek island from a rather ancient, wizened, properly bent over yaya. It's a family that I've made friends with in the spring. I went back in the summer to visit, and then later in the autumn, sort of end of September, beginning of October, went back to stay with them. It was a big family event. I wanted to help pay my way, as it were, so get in the kitchen, get stuck in with veg prep, be helpful if I can. Didn't have a lot of Greek, and Yaya had no English, but yeah, we can muddle along together. So with this recipe, I sort of observed what she did, made notes in the back of an old paperback book. So the recipe came back to England with me in the back of a book. So, horta. It's very simply, it's greens, and more often than not, anyone who's been to Greece, you'll have seen horta on menus. You may also see it in other parts of the Balkans. It's simply any greens that are in season, often that are foraged from the hedgerow, from the mountainside, wherever you can lay your hands on. Boiled, I'd steam them rather than boil, but boiled and served hot with olive oil and lemon juice and usually some salt. Sometimes served warm or cold, more as a salad, but hot as a main course or part of a main course. So today I'm using, and there's a lot, so I'm just using spinach. It's about 300 grams here. Like I said, I'll do the ingredients with you separately in a second. But for your greens, you could use chard. I didn't even think to get chard from the garden. It's been so chucking with rain. I haven't been out in the garden for about 2, possibly more weeks. Briefly when the chats were here, just to show them. But yes, chard, kale, sorrel, amaranth, on an allotment site, if you've got an allotment, there's a wonderful weed you can use, fat hen. So use the tender leaves of fat hen. I've done it with fat hen or something similar. Dandelions in the spring when you get the first lovely fresh dandelion leaves. Nettles. So yeah, if you've got an allotment or you know, you live countryside-ish, you've got places where you can forage, you could use a bit of spinach, but you could also, if you've got in your garden some kale and some chard, that, and then go out and forage some dandelions, some nettles, some amaranth. Fat hen, amaranth, same family, brilliant bit of sorrel, like I said. Actually, mixing different types of leaves together would be really, really lovely. But I'm just using spinach today, so this is in fact going to be a chickpea and spinach gratin. Also, just before the ingredients, from prep to plate, it's about 1 hour and 15 minutes. It is a bit of a longer recipe today. Some of it is going to be on the stove top, and then it's going to go into the oven for a bake. So what you could do, if you wanted to serve this up for friends, if you're having friends for lunch, you can do the stove top bit first. Get that prepped the day before, the night before, pop that in the fridge, and then the next day just do the baking bit when you've got your guests. Lovely, and then they'll smell the bake as it's happening. Yeah, so let's crack on. Let me show you the ingredients, and I've got one substitution, the cheese, just to say quickly. I can't remember the names of any of the hard Greek cheeses. Sorry, Greek friends, those words have gone out of my head. But if you think in terms of something like a Parmesan, so a good hard cheese, I don't have any of that, so I'm using bog standard cheddar. Right, let's get on with these ingredients. Lovely, simple ingredients. So, store cupboard stuff, so some olive oil, of course, I'm going to cook in olive oil. I've got a little bit of stock. I will make up a couple of 100 mils, just I want a little bit of extra liquid, so I'll put some stock powder into that liquid. By way of herbs, I'm going to use oregano and thyme. You could use marjoram and thyme, marjoram, oregano and thyme. Think those lovely Greek mountainside herbs, those arid country herbs. If you've got fresh, great, use fresh. I don't, so I'm using dried. That's my cheese for the topping, so I don't know how much I've chunked off there. It's probably only about 50 grams or so. So this is going to go on the top, along with, you remember from the other day, some breadcrumbs. That's just a mix there. There's a bit of sourdough, and then the darker stuff is a rye wholemeal bread. They're not finely crumbed. They're just, yeah, they're sort of chunked rather than crumbed, but great, that's part of the topping too. For the main part, I've got 3 red onions. These two are nice generous size. That's a bit of a tiddler, but these are really big, so they'll make up for that. So yeah, 3 good sized red onions, the equivalent of a tin of chickpeas. And then I've got here some creme fraiche. I want about 1.5 of these tubs. I could only find half fat. I don't want half fat, I want full fat. I want it to be really, really unctuous. But never mind, like I said, I could only get half fat. So the creme fraiche, if you haven't used it before, I'm sure you probably all have, but if you haven't, it's a slightly soured cream, but I'm using creme fraiche rather than the sour cream just because this is going to be heated. And this is more tolerant of being heated than, say, sour cream, which can separate somewhat. And then, slipping you around, also part of the star of the show, greens. And as I said, I think I've got there about 300 grams. So it's time for me to get prepping. I'm going to start with the onions. I've already chopped up. I forgot to mention in ingredients, 3 huge cloves of garlic have gone in. Do the garlic to your taste. But whilst I love garlic, and whilst I'm still feeling a little bit not quite right, might as well chuck a load in. Because the onions are so massive, I'm actually, rather than doing halves, I'm doing quarter slices. Not too thin, but, you know, yeah. But not chunky. That's so accurate. I'll get a bit more off those in a second. Oh, going flying. And just a word on the other ergonomics. Because obviously when you're cooking, you might not have everything out on the counter all at once. And thinking about the ergonomics, oh, that's a strong one. It's right got me in the eye. So the fridge stuff, the cream and the cheese have gone back in the fridge for now. The oils, seasonings, etc. have gone back to the side of the stove. All of the greens are now stacked inside 2 steamer pans, 2 layers of the steamer, because there's so much of them, they're taking up 2 layers. I haven't turned the steamer on yet. I'm going to get this underway and then the steamer will go on. And so I've got my stock ready next to the kettle. So what I do when I still a bit of skin on that one. When I turn the kettle on for the stock, to make some stock, I'll do a little bit extra, and that can go into the bottom of this steamer pan, so that that water, that steam gets a head start and just gets going straight away. So that's the beautiful red onions. Wow, my eyes are watering. Ready to go in. Let's get our oil, start to get our oil warmed up, and then we can start putting it all together. Oil's gotten warm, in go all the onions, oh la la, and garlic. I can't believe I've had to put a light on here. I've had to bring an extra light, my angle poise, into the room, because with this weather we're having, it's so dark. It's been raining all day again, although what was lovely was for, I don't know, an hour or so, 12 noonish, the sun came through the clouds and there was some real beautiful brightness. So, pan full of onions. I've just realised I started this in my smaller Dutch oven. Because I've got all the greens there. Mind you, the greens will wilt down a lot. I might need extra space. I'm just sort of separating the onions a bit by bashing them. Right. Lid on. So they're going to, there's oil in there, about a tablespoon of oil, but also by putting the lid on, the moisture that's going to come out of the onions is going to kind of act as steaming as well. So I'm going to leave them for probably about 10 minutes. I really want to soften them down, but keep an eye. Now the thing about the cast iron, the Dutch ovens, is that it shouldn't catch, but I will give it a stir occasionally, because what I don't want is, I don't want to brown them, I don't want to caramelise them, I just want them to be really soft. Meanwhile, on the back, that's my 2 stacks of greens ready to go. If you have, so at this stage, if you haven't already, get your chickpeas out of the tin, drained, rinsed and drained. If you haven't already, go and quickly make some breadcrumbs. But now I've got about 10 minutes. This steam is only going to be 3 minutes, just sort of wilting them really. So in about 7 minutes this is going to go on. So in other words, in about 6 minutes I'll put the kettle on for some water for this and for my bit of stock. So if you've got everything ready like I have, you've got 6 minutes to go and do something else, make a phone call, or just stare out of the window and enjoy whatever greenery you can still see. Right, boiling water in there. Let's just get rid of the kettle a second. get my steamer stacked. I'll show you the onions in a sec. So they're going to need, like I said, 2 or 3 minutes just to wilt them down. So in the meantime, the mushrooms, the onions have had about 8 minutes now. Oh yeah, and I have transferred into my larger Dutch oven. So they've mushed down, they meld down a bit, but like I said, what I'm trying to do with them is just to get them really, really soft and, ooh, yeah. That's it, to get them a soft mush, lovely. So that's going to have 2 or 3 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to start to season this now. Some thyme. I'm quite generous. I don't know what that is, like 2 teaspoons. So the other thing to say, I didn't say it when I was showing you the ingredients. This is going to go into this size baking dish. Like, it's tricky today. And I would say for dinner, it's going to serve maybe 3 with some side veggies. Some steamed broccoli, some extra steamed greens. You might want to have potatoes with it, whatever you fancy as a dinner. And then as a lunch, so I'm going to pop some oregano in. Again, it's maybe 2 and 3 teaspoons. So as a lunch, 4 portions. So when I first saw Yaya making this, the pans were massive. And I can't remember exactly how many people were there for lunch that day, but it's got to have been, I don't know, 14, 16, maybe 18 people. So yeah, they were massive, massive pans. So I've extrapolated the amounts down to what I think is rational for 2, 3 or 4 people. Okay, well that was a bit of a weird moment. I don't know what happened. The camera started beeping at me and then it shut itself off. Tried to turn it on and it said recovering lost data or whatever. So I'm not quite sure. Anyway, chickpeas are in, the stock is in. The steamed greens, they're going to go in. Yeah, not an ideal thing to happen when you're sort of right in the middle of filming a stage. Squish a bit of the moisture out. I should have squished a bit of the moisture out, never mind. I mean, you can see how much the greens, well, spinach anyway, shrinks down after steaming. Even so, I'm glad I went up to the bigger pan. Right, now to start melding. And let's not forget the treat ingredient, the creme fraiche. Oh yeah, in my panic I turned the heat right. I was like, oh, what's going on? Okay, that's back up again. And I want about half of the other pot. Yeah, about 300, excuse me, about 300 grams. I think most pots probably are 300 grams. It's just that these ones only come as 200. Let's pop that back in the fridge straight away for now. And now it's a case of giving all of this an almighty stir and getting it all combined, and then I'm going to bring it up to almost a simmer again. Yeah, a sort of very gentle simmer, and let it simmer for about 5 or 10 minutes. It's stiff. Yeah, let's get moving these greens through. I do want to have an even distribution. Okay, I'm going to carry on with this and get it back up to the simmer for, like I said, maybe about 10 minutes, and then we'd be ready to think about putting it in the oven. So at this stage, I'm now going to pop the oven on to preheat it. 180, I'll do it to. Okay, oven's up to temperature. I've turned this off, but as I normally do, it'll carry on cooking. I always put my oven mitts on the top for a little bit of extra insulation. And whilst I was waiting, I also, this is now a combination of the breadcrumbs. I'm so sorry about the lighting. If I show it to you here, you can't see. It's the breadcrumbs and the cheese. I grated the cheese on the little teeny tiny grater side, like the Parmesan side, and just combine them all. The cheese, there are a few lumps. That'll be gorgeous. That's because that cheese came out of the freezer and it tends to be a little bit crumbly when it comes out of the freezer. So let's try and do this without being too messy. Oh, gotcha. Oh, I don't want to overdo it too much because I want room for my crumb. Where's my ladle? Where has my ladle gone? I've got to go and find my ladle. One moment. Well, I ended up with plenty. I could do another oven dish, but what I'm going to do is, that's left over, I'm just going to have it as it is without baking it any further. The main thing is, I want to leave room on this for this lovely crumb, because this is what just makes it extra special to another level. And that's what we want in the winter, isn't it? The only thing with it being winter is the lighting is appalling. But like I say, make this in the spring too, with all those fresh tender shoots of dandelion leaves and nettles and fat hen and all those lovely things. Right, let's pop it in the oven and I will reconvene with you in about 40 minutes. Just basically I want this to go nice and golden brown on the top, and then we can feed our faces. Well, it smells gorgeous. Hot, hot, hot. Oh yeah, just in time. I actually turned it off a few minutes ago because it's actually had 30 minutes, not 40, but that crust is exactly the colour I want it to be. But you can see it's fantastically hot, so I'm going to let it cool for 5 minutes or so and then serve it up. Can't wait. Right, let's get our laughing gear around this. Oh, actually, if I do it like this, you can see it. Actually, I'm going to have a quarter. It reheats perfectly well. Just pop it back in the oven with maybe a bit of foil over it. Oh, yum. It smells so good. Now my baking dish is quite shallow. I do have a deeper one. I should have done it in the deeper one, but I love this dish because it was a gift from a friend. It came from Spain, and a gift of cookware. Wow, how lovely. Right, that is, I was going to say it's lunch served. It's not lunch, it's well past lunch, it's about 4:30. Let's go and have a little scofferama. Well, this has all warmed me up perfectly. I might have to take a layer off. I'm just waiting to fuff it a little bit. So timings, all the stovetop bit, 35-40 minutes, but that's the prep and all the bit on the stovetop. So if you were making it in advance, 40 minutes on the stovetop, done. Then in the oven, actually it was only in the oven for 30 minutes in the end. I keep forgetting this is a fan oven, so it is quicker. I have to remind myself of that. I've maybe used it 10 times since I moved in, so like the hob, electric, still getting used to it all. But that's fine, pop it in the oven, get on with the washing up. Or if you've got guests, pop it in the oven, pour a glass of wine. I won't be doing that today. Oh, the smell is so good. Oh, it's just so lovely. It's, yeah, it's proper, at the moment, winter comfort food. You've got that lovely, you still have a bit of bite to the chickpeas. I keep saying mushrooms, the onions are so soft and sweet, and then with the greens running through. Now obviously I use spinach, which is a sweeter green, but that sweetness of the onions would work brilliantly, especially if you're using some of the greens which are a bit more bitter. And then having the breadcrumbs and that bit of cheese on the top, super naughty. But also with the breadcrumbs on top, you're getting a bit more crunch. So there's nice differences in texture. There's a bit of bite, bit of crunch, bit of smoothness, and then the creaminess from obviously the creme fraiche. It wasn't too much cheese. So any of you who are trying to be like, oh, I shouldn't be eating so much cheese, what did I reckon that piece? That piece was probably about 50 grams across 4 portions, 12.5 grams. And of course, if you didn't want to use cheese on the top, I don't know if maybe nutritional yeast would work on the top, but certainly a little bit of breadcrumb. That's really lovely. Right, you all need to go away while I tuck in one more mouthful with you. Sorry, I can't share. Perfect winter food. If you were having this in the spring or the summer, using all those greens as they become available, I would say still really lovely, but let it cool down quite a bit more. So don't have it hot, have it warm, and then you can have it with a salad on the side, or like I said, for winter, have it with some potatoes, broccoli, another portion of greens on top. Yay, even more greens, woo! Whatever you fancy. Or like I'm having it, a quarter of it like that. That's plenty for lunch for me. All right, lovelies, I hope you enjoyed that. I've done the main part of the washing up. There's still a bit more to go, because when you film a recipe, you create way more washing up because of putting things in bowls. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. For me, that's just the most wonderful, happy memory food of a really happy time, halfway up a mountain in Greece, with an ancient yaya jabbering, chatting to me all the time. I could hardly understand a word she said. I do know what she meant at one point when she came over and pulled my cheek and pinched my ribs. I was very skinny then. Pinched my ribs in motion that I needed to eat more. God love her. All right, lovelies, until the next one, please take care and enjoy your winter grub. Until the next one, cheerio.